In our last video, we witnessed the rise of Babel, the legacy of Nimrod, and God's epic call to Abram to leave everything behind for an unknown land. In this episode, covering Genesis chapters 13, 14, and 15, the stakes get even higher. You'll see the painful split between Abram and Lot, the ancient world's first major war involving four ruthless eastern kings, and Abram's daring night ambush against entire empires. Finally, we'll witness the mystical moment that changed history forever, God's eternal covenant sealed under a breathtaking starry night. Chapter 13. Abram went up out of Egypt, he, his wife, all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. He went on his journeys from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first. There Abram called on the Lord's name. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks, herds, and tents. The land was not able to bear them, that they might live together, for their possessions were so great that they couldn't live together. There was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites lived in the land at that time. Abram said to Lot,
"Please, let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are relatives. Isn't the whole land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right hand, then I will go to the left."
Lot lifted up his eyes, and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar. So Lot chose the plain of the Jordan for himself. Lot traveled east, and they separated themselves from one another. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain, and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinners against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram, after Lot was separated from him,
"Now, lift up your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For I will give all the land which you see to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring may also be counted. Arise, walk through the land in its length and in its width, for I will give it to you."
Abram moved his tent, and came and lived by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. Chapter 14. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasa, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim, they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bershah, king of Gomorrah, Shurnab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zor. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, also called the Salt Sea. They served Kedorlaomer for 12 years, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and struck the Rephaim and Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim and Ham, the Emim and Shave Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, to El Paran, which is by the wilderness. They returned, and came to En Mishpat, also called Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, that lived in Hazazon Tamar. The king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zor, went out, and they set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim. Against Kedorlaomer king of Elam, Tidal king of Goyim, Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elasa, for kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and some fell there. Those who remained fled to the hills. They took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and went their way. They took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who lived in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. One who had escaped came and told Abram, the Hebrew. At that time, he lived by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner. They were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his relative was taken captive, he led out his 318 trained men, born in his house, and pursued as far as Dan. He divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and struck them, and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. He brought back all the goods, and also brought back his relative Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the other people. The king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Kedar-Laomer, and the kings who were with him, at the valley of Shave, that is, the king's valley. Melchizedek king of Salem brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. He blessed him, and said,
Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. Blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand.
Abram gave him 1/10 of all. The king of Sodom said to Abram,
Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself.
Abram said to the king of Sodom,
I have lifted up my hand to the Lord, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread nor a sandal strap nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. I will accept nothing from you except that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion.
Chapter 15. After these things the Lord's word came to Abram in a vision, saying,
Don't be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward.
Abram said,
Lord God, what will you give me, since I go childless, and he who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus?
Abram said,
Behold, you have given no children to me, and, behold, one born in my house is my heir.
Behold, the Lord's word came to him, saying,
This man will not be your heir, but he who will come out of your own body will be your heir.
The Lord brought him outside, and said,
Look now toward the sky, and count the stars, if you are able to count them.
He said to Abram,
So your offspring will be.
He believed in the Lord, who credited it to him for righteousness. He said to Abram,
I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give you this land to inherit it.
He said,
Lord God, how will I know that I will inherit it?
He said to him,
Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon.
He brought him all these, and divided them in the middle, and laid each half opposite the other. But he didn't divide the birds. The birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Now terror and great darkness fell on him. He said to Abram,
Know for sure that your offspring will live as foreigners in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them. They will afflict them 400 years. I will also judge that nation, whom they will serve. Afterward they will come out with great wealth, but you will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation they will come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full.
It came to pass that, when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. In that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying,
I have given this land to your offspring, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The land of the Kenite, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.
Check for understanding. Question 1. Why did the War of the 9 Kings break out in Genesis 14? What were they fighting over? The southern kings of Sodom and Gomorrah rebelled and refused to pay tribute to the eastern kings after 12 years of submission. Question 2. How many trained men did Abram take with him to pursue the massive eastern armies and rescue his nephew Lot? "318 people born in his house." Question 3. What did Abram do with the spoils of war when the mysterious king-priest Melchizedek blessed him? He gave him a tithe, a 10th part of everything. Reflection question. Why do you think Abram completely refused to take even a single thread or a sandal strap from the king of Sodom, choosing instead to rely entirely on God's promise? Today, we watched Abram's journey reach new heights, from his painful but necessary separation from Lot, to his incredible military victory over foreign empires, and finally, to that unforgettable night where God sealed an eternal covenant with him under the stars. But Abram's story is far from over. In our next video, covering chapters 16 through 18, we will witness the dramatic entrance of Hagar and the birth of Ishmael, the life-changing moment when God changes Abram's name to Abraham, and a mysterious visit by 3 heavenly messengers who bring a shocking prophecy. Don't miss it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave your answers in the comments below. See you in the next episode.